Hello. How are we doing tonight? God, it's been a long day. It feels like it's been a long day. I got up today and had to go. I had a meeting today at 1. And then I wrote after that for a while. Edited a little bit. And then made my videos. And then I went out to dinner with my new sponsor. Got a new sponsor. And that was fun. Ate at Charleston's. Ate healthy, pretty much. And then I went home and hung out with Alex for a little bit. He had dinner tonight with a friend of his. This place in Indianapolis called Napoli's. It's like one of his favorite restaurants. And then we hung out for a little bit with the dogs. And then he went to sleep. And I went and drove around with Tanya for a second. Like 20 minutes, not very long. And I tried a new kind of Gatorade tonight. I'm kind of over Gatorade, to be honest with you. I'm kind of on this all water kick. I've been drinking so much water. But anyway, last night I drank lemonade. So I went to the casino last night. Lori met me. I went there and I walked in and Lori was there. I was like, I've been calling you and texting you. She's like, I left my phone at the house. She's like, I'm so sorry. She was like, she and her husband were there. She was like, on the way here, she was like, her husband said, aren't you going to call Peter? And she was like, oh my God, I forgot my phone. And she realized it like halfway. I go, how do you forget your phone? She's like, I hate my phone. She's like, I hate my cell phone. She can hardly do. She learned how to do emojis. She was so excited that she learned how to do emojis. So anyway, so yeah, that was my day today. It was just kind of really chill and very relaxing. And I read a little bit today of Witch's Sister by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor, which was like one of my favorite books when I was a kid. And I'm like, I have like all of the books now and I'm rereading them. And I've only read the first 3. I think I talked about this last night, so I'm not going to re-talk about it again. Tanya and I were both like talking tonight about how this car is like destined to get somewhere. He's like trying to get around me and he's like... So anyway, Tanya and I were talking about how we need another mystery that was like as good as The Woman in the Window, because it was so fantastic. I was like, well, read the Nora Roberts book. And she was like, no. She's like, I don't like her that much. I'm like, okay. I said, it's pretty fantastical. She's like, yeah, I'm not really. I don't get into all that. So anyway. But it's a good day. It's been a really good day. And then tomorrow I have... this car has got somewhere to go. Seriously. Tomorrow I have counseling in the afternoon. I was going to take my dogs to get their shots in the morning. We take them to the low-cost shot place. But... if I get there and I have to wait, I won't be able to make it to my appointment by 1. And if I go after my appointment, they close. I think they're done at 4, and I would have to go home, get the dogs, and go back to take them. So I don't think it's possible tomorrow. And Wednesday, I am super busy. I might be able to take them Thursday during the day. I might take them Thursday, get up early and take them Thursday during the day. That might be what I do. I booked our trip to Miami last night. I'm so excited about that. Going down there for Ultra Music Festival. We are going to look around for some property while we're down there. We are, so we've talked about this for a long time on all of my channels, but we want to get a place in Miami. We're not really sure where yet. Alex really wants to be like in the Brickell area. I would love to be right in South Beach. I don't even really care if we just have like a studio apartment or studio condo that's real small, but like even a small studio condo, you're probably looking at $500,000 minimum. And we just can't really afford that, obviously. And so we're gonna look at some things like maybe further north of Miami and like Hollywood we've thought about as well. That's like really far away from Miami though, you know? If I won the lottery, I would buy a place like right in South Beach. Like right on Ocean Drive. I would, oh my God. Oh, so pretty. So we're gonna do that while we're down there. We can't really afford anything right now, but we like to just kind of dream. Do you guys ever do that? Just like, well, I was talking about that with the houses the other day, but I like to just kind of like dream and look around at things. I think it's fun, kind of get ideas of where we'd like to be. We have some friends down there, and they have two of our friends have places in Brickell. So Alex likes that area, but it's like so far from everything, I think. You know, I mean, it's really, that's downtown Miami. It's not like, I mean, it's not even downtown Miami, but, I mean, it is, but it isn't. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I don't know Miami as well as he does. A couple years, was it 2 years ago when we were in Miami? So I used to be really obsessed with the show Jane the Virgin. I don't watch it anymore because I'm so far behind on it. I need to catch up. And, so I like Google search, we were eating at Doji's, which is like my favorite restaurant, and in Miami, it's like a Venezuelan restaurant. Alex loves it too. We literally get off the plane and Uber it right to Doji's. That's every time, that's what we do. And that's where I got my hat that says, the black hat that I wear that says I eat a rapist. And so anyway, we were there and we had like driven down to Miami. That would have been 2 years ago because Alex said I'll never drive again. We drove like our first 3 years to Miami for Ultra. And so we had a car and we were driving around and it was like raining that day. And I said, I want to find Jane's house, like wherever it is, right? So if you Google it, it has her address on Wikipedia. And I was like trying to find out where Jane Villanueva lives, and the street and stuff that she lives on is like, does not really truly exist. Like it's a made up street. So we were trying to find out like where it would be in Miami if it really did exist. But of course it doesn't exist, so then you couldn't really find out where it would exist. But if I could live in a house in Miami, I would have a house like Jill or Jane, I don't know why I keep on calling her Jill, like Jane Villanueva, probably because it's Jill. I don't watch that anymore though. I loved that show. I was obsessed with it. I just thought it was like so kind of quirky and family-ish. Plus, Alex's grandma is like obsessed with all of those telenovelas, and so it's done exactly like a Venezuelan telenovela or whatever kind of, you know, telenovela, Latino telenovela. But anyway, and whenever we go over to his mom's house, she's always sitting there watching them. It cracks me up. She takes them real seriously. Are you guys watching the assassination of Gianni Versace? It was on tonight, and I wanted to watch it, and neither one of us did, so maybe we'll save it for tomorrow night. I don't know, but I really want to see what happens. It was so good last week. Was it on last night? Or was it on tonight, or is it on tomorrow? RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars starts on Thursday. I cannot wait. I am so excited. This moment today, like I had like driven through Starbucks and I got my coffee, and I had like I was gonna go to the library but I didn't make it, and I had like a book over here that I was like reading, not The Witch's Sister one, but this other one called The Day the Sea Rolled Back, and I was like, I don't know why I'm holding this, but because I have my phone charger from inside the house. I will tell you what's really weird is that my phone now will only charge with my iPhone charger. It will not, like the cord that came with the phone, it won't charge with any other charging cord. Does anybody know why that's happening? I don't understand it. It just one night, like all of a sudden, I mean, I have a phone charger and everything in here, and it won't work with it anymore. Just doesn't even like charge at all. It's the weirdest thing. And my office, it won't charge either. So, what was I gonna say? totally forgot what I was saying. Oh, I had this moment today when I was just like, it was so nice. It was like 65. The guy at the gas station a couple minutes ago just told me it's supposed to snow tomorrow, so that's really great. We're just gonna have I think we're gonna have the coldest winter ever, but right now it's 39. But it was beautiful today. I mean, it was rainy, but it felt like spring. And I was like driving and my windows were down and I was listening to music and I looked over and I had those books there and I was like, I have the most amazing life. Like, I just have the best life. I love my life, you know? And it just was so relaxing and nice today, you know? I'd like to plan a trip for this summer too. We need to talk about what we can afford and what we can't afford. Thank you guys for the suggestions about the washer and dryer. Somebody left us a comment about Sears and said that Sears I need to check into that because we were going to look at Sears anyway. We're also going to look at Home Depot. And then there was like this appliance store right up by where we live that's like brand new, but like I was looking at their prices because we got a flyer in our mailbox from them and I was like, their prices are kind of high, I think, for a washer and dryer. I mean, you could go all the way up and spend $2,000 on a washer and $2,000 on a dryer, but we don't need that kind of washer and dryer. We need cheapo central is what we need. We just need one. One, and then I need somebody that can set it up, and I need somebody that will take our old ones away. That's what we need. The potholes in Indiana this year, you guys, are so horrible. I'm like, around our house, you can't even drive. It's like you're driving all over the road like this, trying to avoid the potholes. It is unbelievable. If you guys don't know what a pothole is, if you're not from like a cold area, it's where like the snow and the ice get on the road, and then when it melts, it's like it breaks apart the road, and then you have a hole in the road. And they don't fix it till spring because they're like, what's the point? So if you go down in it, it's like real dangerous to your car. What else? I'm almost done with the Nora Roberts book on Audible. I've been reading a lot of Rot and Ruin on my Kindle. I'm almost completely caught up with 60 Days In this season. It is so good. I think this might be the best season of 60 Days In so far. So if you guys don't watch 60 Days In, 60 Days In is about like, I think it's 7 people and they go into this jail system. The first 2 seasons were in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And the last 2 seasons, last season and this season, are in, I think these are, yeah, in Atlanta. And, so they go in there and people supposedly don't know that they're like just, you know, regular citizens, I guess, that they're not like, you know, inmates. And so they're supposed to like tell everybody, like tell the guards, or not the guards, but the guy that, excuse me, like the jail warden, like what's going on that he's not aware of. But what's really interesting is this season, a couple of them start going kind of rogue in there, and they think they're inmates. It's really like, you know, past a TV show, like as a psychological experiment, it's very interesting. I remember years and years and years ago, this doctor that I worked with, she and I read a lot. We would just talk about books and TV shows together, and it was the year that Survivor was coming on, and I said to her, I said, are you going to watch Survivor? Everybody was talking about it, you know, and she goes, no, and I said, why not? And she said, I think I've talked about this one here, actually. She said, this whole idea of reality television is very scary to me. And she said, I think Survivor was like one of the very first reality shows. And she said, you know, like, this is where it starts, but we don't know where it's going to end. And I was thinking about that the other day with shows like 60 Days In, or Undercover High, or like Bad Girls Club, or like The Bachelor, or, you know, the Real World. You know, all of these shows, and The Real World was actually one of the very first ones too. I watched that very first season when they were in New York. I watched it for a long time, and then I just kind of got, do they still do The Real World? Is it boring now? But, Big Brother's kind of like real world, I guess, a little bit. But, you know, she was right. She was like, they're going to just start showing anything, you know? And I think it's kind of scary to some extent where reality television has gone, you know? It's like, are there no boundaries whatsoever with what we show? I guess YouTube could be seen the same way, you know? It's like, what is not sensitive for us to show? I trimmed my beard today. My nose is driving me crazy. I go to dinner with my sponsor tonight, and look, my sponsor had me do inventory. Let's have dinner and do inventory on your life. That's how you get better, though, is you inventory the shit in your life, you know? Take a look at all the stuff that's going on. What's your part in that? I sometimes forget, like, to people that aren't sober or aren't in recovery, how much, like, that world must look weird to somebody else, you know? It's like every once in a while, I was like talking to somebody today, like a friend of mine, and they were like, so you never have a beer? And I was like, no. They're like, you never have a glass of wine? And I was like, no. And they're like, because really you just don't like it, right? And I'm like, no, because I liked it too much. And they're like, well, I don't understand. And I'm like, it was not good for me. Like, I was out of control when I drank and used drugs. Well, I mean, the drugs I can understand, but the drinking, I'm like, yeah, all of it. Like, it was completely out of control. But don't you think after all this time you could probably have a beer? Yeah, I'm not willing to take that risk. I don't think so, and I don't know. But don't you wonder sometimes? I'm like, oh my God, why do you want me to drink so bad? Why is it so important to you that I drink so bad? And, you know, and it's not that they care. Like, they don't really care. You know, this friend that I'm talking about isn't even somebody that's a big drinker. But what's so interesting to me about it is that it's like, it's such a hard concept, I think, for people to grasp sometimes that, you know, aren't alcoholics or addicts. They don't get it. They don't understand this idea of why you can't just stop. I've had so many people say that to me through the years, and not out of ignorance. They just don't. They're built completely different than, you know, you and I do. Like, I remember I used to use this as an example. Like, I can remember back in the day when we would travel. My stepmom, like, I would drink with my stepmom, kind of like hardcore sometimes when we would go on trips. And, you know, we would, like, be at the beach or, like, by the pool. And we would drink. And then she would stop at, like, 5 o'clock because she wanted to go, you know, take a nap, go to dinner. And she would, like, I can remember we're sitting at the pool and she would order, like, a Diet Coke. And I'd be like, what are you doing? And she'd be like, I just don't want to feel sick later. I don't want to be hungover tomorrow and I don't want to be sick later. And I'm like, you're done drinking? And she's like, yeah, don't you think it's time to kind of slow it down? And I'm like, oh no, I just got my buzz on. Like, we need to keep on going, you know? And she didn't, like, she'd be like, I don't understand that. Like, I didn't understand that she didn't get it back then. But today what I understand is that we're genetically built differently, you know? And that, or at least that's what I believe. You know, the whole idea of 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough, that I'm not, you know, pleased until I've had enough. And don't tell me when enough is enough. Like, don't ever tell me, okay, you've had enough. Those were things, I mean, if you said to me, you've had enough, you were out of my life. That was probably the fastest way to get out of my life. Like, you have a problem and you've had enough. Those two lines, I didn't have people in my life that said those things to me. Because you didn't get me. And you were no fun. That was the other thing I would say, you know, like, oh, you're no fun. Don't you want to drink? Come on, you know? I was talking to somebody, too, about, like, smoking weed. And they were like, don't you, like, do you ever think about the fact that if it became, like, federally legalized that you could smoke pot? And I'm like, okay, first of all, it it will be federally legalized, and I totally agree with the decriminalization of marijuana. I do not believe that people should be serving long prison sentences for possession of a small amount of marijuana or probation violations because of it. I think it's more manageable. But do I believe that people can be addicts from marijuana? Absolutely. The thing is that it's like alcohol to me. Like, you know, just because alcohol is legal doesn't mean that I use it successfully. When I drink, I'm not successful. When I smoke pot, I'm not successful, okay? So for example, if, you know, we were driving in this car and like somebody was like, hey, let's, you know, smoke a blunt. Well, let's be realistic about this, because I didn't smoke blunts back then, because when I was getting high, nobody smoked blunts. So somebody whips out a joint, right? Or more realistically, a bowl, and we're passing a bowl around, right? And then the bowl gets done, my immediate thought to the next thing is, pack it again. And I would say that to my friends, okay, so we'd pack it again and we'd smoke another bowl, right? And my friends would be like, I am so baked. And I'd be like, okay, well, let's get higher. Like, you know, I wouldn't say that, that's corny, but you know what I mean? Like, I just, like, if I was feeling that high, like, I just wanted to get more and more, just like, I didn't want the funniness to, I wanted to keep on pushing it as far as I could, you know? And, I never knew any limits, to the point where at the end, and some people will understand what I'm saying by this if you're heavy pot smokers. I can't imagine being a heavy pot smoker and watching my videos, but if you are, I would smoke myself sober, like not sober, but I would smoke myself to the point where like I had smoked so much weed that I didn't even feel high anymore. Like, it was weird. Like, that's when you know, like, you're smoking a lot of weed and it's a problem. Like, I was smoking way too much weed, and I just smoked all the time. Smoked it all the time. I loved it. And I didn't want to ever, like, not feel high. And I remember the other thing that's really weird is that, so marijuana, cannabis, actually classifies as several different drugs, and one of the drugs that it classifies is, I think, is a stimulant. And so my heart would race, and people used to make fun of me because I would smoke weed and then I would go like this. I would constantly feel my heart rate because I felt like my chest was gonna, like, boom, 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 and then I would, like, I have a tachycardia on top of that. So a lot of times, like, my heart goes, and I have to lay on my back and put my feet up. I don't think I've ever talked about that, actually. Something I got as a little kid. They actually misdiagnosed it as asthma for a long time, and what they would find out is, like, it would happen to me when I was playing tennis, because I grew up playing tennis, and I would be playing, and then all of a sudden my heart would go from going boom, 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 and it felt like I thought I was going to pass out. And I guess there's medicine they can put you on, but what they taught me to do was lay on my back and put my feet up. And it is so scary, you guys, what happens. I haven't had it happen in a long time, but it goes boom, boom, boom. It's the weirdest thing, and it's just needing oxygen in your system. And yeah. So I was not the person to be using cocaine, pills, marijuana, because all of that shit is really scary and messes with your system, especially when you have medical complications like that, you know? So even if marijuana was legal, no, I couldn't smoke it. I do believe that it'll be federally legalized at some point, and I do think that there will be conditions around it, and I think that 20 years from now, you know, we'll be using Marinol, the pill form, for medication for all kinds of things, you know. They use it now. They use it for, you know, AIDS patients that can't keep their appetites. It's a true story. I used to know some people that took it for that, a couple that I knew. To keep up their weight, and there's all kinds of things. I believe at some point what they'll use it for is that, you know, a lot of kids start smoking weed at the same time that they're put on, like, stimulants for ADD and ADHD, and they feel like it relaxes them, yet helps them focus to smoke weed. So a lot of times what kids do, this is no mystery to anybody, they'll sell their Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, they'll sell it, and then they'll buy weed with it, right? Or they'll trade it. And a lot of times what we're finding out, and this is really sad, is that a lot of these kids, and this is why they become huge potheads, are very successful smoking weed instead of being on a stimulant. Kids hate stimulants most of the time. They really do. Because if you're on Adderall and you need Adderall, it doesn't do for you what all of these like college kids that take it and get real hyped up for an exam, right? Like if you need Adderall or Ritalin or Concerta, like you're gonna just feel calm when you take it. Like if I took a stimulant, it would just relax me. It wouldn't make me hyper because it counteracts it, right? So a lot of those kids start smoking pot and they get hooked on it because they like the effects of it more than they like a stimulant. Well, I do think that once the stigma is gone, I think eventually we might medicate, teenagers that have ADD and ADHD with Marinol. I think it's a possibility. But we would have to get way past the stigma of marijuana as a drug in our country, and I think we're way out from that, you know? I'll tell you what's still kind of weird for me, though. I don't know why this is weird, but like I have a couple friends that smoke weed, right? Like couples, and they're like very professional, and they will they're not like, they don't sit there and smoke weed around me because they know that like it's kind of an issue, obviously, for me as a person in recovery. I mean, they're very respectful to me about it, but they, I'll say like, oh, you smoke weed? And they'll be like, yeah, like, Judy and I'll have, we'll smoke a joint or we'll smoke our one hitter, like, like late at night before we go to bed or whatever. And like, I'm always imagining them like going to their drug dealer at 45, and like buying marijuana from their drug dealer. Like, I don't know why that's weird to me. It just is, it's like, it just seems kind of crazy to me, And then I've known some people that have gotten high with their teenage kids or their college kids, and I'm like, don't do that. Like, that's just tacky. Don't do that. You're sending a bad message. You're condoning drug use. It's just, I don't understand that at all. I really don't. And then people will say to me, well, then, don't you think that parents shouldn't drink with their kids as well? I totally agree. Parents shouldn't drink with their kids. I mean, maybe, a glass of wine on your 21st birthday, but to get rip-roaring drunk? No, I don't agree with that. Why would that be the message? Why is that so important to you if that's the message you want to send to your child? There are a lot of people that they can get drunk with if they choose to do that. Why does it have to be you? And then parents a lot of times have said to me in the past, well, I'd rather have my child get drunk with me than some stranger on the street. Really? That's kind of weird, don't you think? You mean out of a safety thing? Well, maybe the message that we should be sending is, don't drink problematically. And I don't think that everybody that gets drunk is an alcoholic, and I don't think that everybody that smokes pot or does drugs once or twice or experimentally is a drug addict. Let's make that very clear, okay? But I don't think that as parents we have to send out those messages. Kids need parents, not friends. They have enough friends. They don't need their parents to be their friends. And if you need me to clarify that for you, send me a message and I'll help you with that. Because I do think a lot of parents struggle with that. They're like, well, my child doesn't listen to me anyway, and I think they'll listen to me this way. No, they won't. No, they really won't. Then you've lost them for good when you've become their friend, And it's sad, I think. I see so many parents that then want adult relationships with their kids. They got high with them at 16, 17, 18, and then now their kids are 35 and they don't take their parents seriously. And you know what they always say? Well, she doesn't care about me. She was smoking pot with me when I was 16. Then they use it against them. It's like, I think we have to think through what we're doing, when we're parents. And I'm not. And that's one of the reasons why I choose not to be a parent, because it's a lot of work to be a parent. Okay, I'm at 29 minutes, so I'm going to stop this and I'll be right back. I literally turned it off and turned it back on. People always ask me, they're like, so what do you mean you're right at 29 minutes? So it shuts off at like 29 minutes and 30 seconds. So if I go over it, it'll just automatically stop. But I think it's a lot of work to be a parent, and I think everybody has a right to be a parent if they want to. But I think that, we should all think about what that really means. It's like, are you wanting to be a parent out of your own selfish needs? You know, like, I just want to be a mom, like I want to have kids, or I just want to be a dad. I always imagine myself being a dad with 5 kids, and then, okay, you are, but then you don't really interact with your kids, and you don't go to PTA meetings, and you end up drinking with your kid when they go, you know, to Cancun on spring break, and like, so explain to me again why you wanted to be a dad. Oh, because you wanted to pass on the genes, you wanted your family name. I mean, like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that we really, especially, you know, where we're at in our world right now, we really need to think about why we want to be parents and what that means and how do we be the best parent possible. And being a parent, I think a lot of people forget this too, is not about, you know, answering a 4-year-old's questions or changing a 2-year-old's diapers. Being a parent is sometimes getting your kid out of jail at 22 years old, you know, or dealing with their divorce and they're moving back home at 30 years old. You know, parents are there forever. It's not like you don't stop being somebody's parent the day your child turns 18. And I definitely think that, like, you know, I needed my parents' like structure and boundaries more when I was like a teenager and in college than I did later. And honestly, like, my parents didn't know how to do that. You know, they just didn't. They did the best they could. I don't hold them accountable for that. I mean, I don't hold them responsible for that. Like, you know, my mom said to a counselor one time, if there was some book that said read it pages 1 through 100 your child will turn out perfect, what parent wouldn't read that? And, you know, I think a lot of parents probably wouldn't read it. They make excuses for why they didn't want to read it. But I really do believe that. But then I think there are a lot of really great parents out there too that want to do the best for their kids. I think my parents really wanted to do the best for me. You know, I think a lot of times there's no book. I mean, we have tons of books today, but no one book that tells you exactly what to do. And I've had to work with parents, you know, for years that I even had to say to them back in the day, you know, that like, even if you do everything that I tell you to do, your child may still make bad choices, you know, like, but that doesn't make them a bad person. That just means that they're a good person making poor choices, you know, and you have to set boundaries and limits and help them. It's very much like teaching a child on, you know, training wheels when they're a little kid. But being a parent doesn't stop. And I think, like, I don't know, especially the older I get, like, if I was going to have a child, I definitely would have wanted to have a child at like 30, 35. I wouldn't want to start now. God. Be 65 when they're 20. Hell no. Hell to the no. I might not even be here. This little restaurant right here, it's called something Donuts. Looks so good. It's always packed too. There's an ambulance coming. This car in front of me is not stopping. The ambulance didn't have its horn on. Now, I heard bad things about that. Is that true? When an ambulance has its lights on but no like sound. So anyway, yeah, I think it's really tough to be parents. And I have friends of mine that, like, God, I just, like, see them. What's interesting is, like, I have friends of mine that either have, like, kids that, like, get straight A's and they do, like, they're so great, you know, whatever. Or I have kids that, like, really, really struggle, you know. It's, like, it doesn't seem like it's ever kind of in between. And I don't know that I think a lot of that is really dictated by the parents. I mean, I think a certain amount of it is. But, like, I have known, you know, kids that have grown up in really toxic environments that have been super achievers, and maybe that's why. And I've known kids that have had the most amazing parents and home environments ever that just made one poor choice after another, you know? And so it's interesting to me when you look at that, and it's like the whole, you know, nurture versus nature kind of thing. How much is genetic, how much is learned, how much is taught, all of that kind of stuff. I also think it's about what do you want for your child, you know, like, do you want your child to be happy exactly where your child is right now and learning the best they can, or are you intent on your child, like, attending, you know, Princeton or Harvard, and, you know what I mean, and, like, you'll do everything you can to get them to that point. Okay, that is literally the second time that my camera has shut off, and I don't think that the internal heat that it talks about on there has anything to do with the heat in this car, because I purposely have the heat off in this car and was freezing, and it shut off anyway. It drives me crazy when it does that. And it keeps on filming for like 3 or 4 seconds, so then it makes me look stupid when I reach over and turn it off. Damn it, can't we have nice things? Oh my Lord. Do you ever just think silly things? That sign over there on that car dealership said, "We buy cars," and I thought to myself, don't we all? I'm so silly. And somebody asked in my video tonight, they said, why is Boo Radley shaking so bad? Okay, so Boo Radley always shakes. We don't really know what it's about. The vet said that he's completely fine. So, it's funny when we take him to the vet, because the vet's always like, Boo Radley's the healthiest of all 3 of them. I know he looks skinny, but he's perfect weight for his dog size, or whatever he is, or I don't know. He's long. He's like long and skinny. But I've been feeding him that Crave dog food. I know at least one person below will have something horrible to say about it. Probably, I don't know, makes dogs grow a 3rd ear or something, but they really like it. And the dry dog food has like tons of protein in it. So I've been mixing it with the wet dog food, and then Pee-Pee can eat it too, because it doesn't hurt his teeth. And so I like mix it, and then I let it sit there a little bit, and it kind of gets soft. And that's what I've been doing for all 3 of them, and they love it. They love it so much. So Boo Radley's been eating his right up. He gets a whole can, and then Boo and Tucker split a can, and then I mix in dry food with all 3 of them. But Boo Radley gets more dry food because we're trying to get some weight on him. But he never gains any weight. He's been like the same weight always. Alex is usually the one that takes him to their like annual dog or their vet appointments. Pee-Pee's medicine seems to be going okay though. I mean, he coughs, but he doesn't cough like all the time. He'll have like a day where he'll cough like once or twice, and then he won't cough for like 4 or 5 days. I freak when he coughs though. Oh my God, I start freaking out like crazy. And it's weird because like you can tell he's real nervous when he's coughing, and then he'll stop, and then he'll be like, he's like back to normal like really quick. I think in that moment it just scares him because he doesn't know what that feeling is, and he doesn't know what to do about it, you know? And it's so hard to see dogs go through that, because it's like you want to take it away from them. You want to like, you know, I understand now why like, you guys know Letty. I love Letty so much, and I watched her vlog where she, oh my God, the whole situation with the dog and having put the dogs down, but it was so sad. And she sent me the nicest message, and she was like, you know, but they're in like peace now, they're not hurting. And I understand that. Like, I understand not wanting to see your pet suffer. I mean, it is so hard for me to even see Pee-Pee cough. I could not imagine on a daily basis like seeing, you know, Pee-Pee or any of our dogs just like suffer so much that they're in so much pain. Like, you know, and pets can't really tell us how much pain they're in, you know? It's so hard for them, so. But that's part of being a pet owner. They just love us so unconditionally, you know? That it's like we don't want them to be in pain, right? Well, all right, I don't want this camera to shut off again, so I'm gonna get off here and make it a little bit of a shorter vlog tonight. I think it's about 35 minutes, something like that. And have a good day. We'll have a good day tomorrow. We should all have a good day unless you have other plans. We'll have a good day tomorrow. Love ya. Bye.